Good evening. I call to order the regular meeting of the Lakewood City Council for August 8th, 2016, 7 p.m. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Hall.
Here.
Wickman. Vincent.
Here.
Roybal.
Here.
You confused me, Dave. I can't do this now. Harrison. Johnson.
Here.
Shakti.
Here.
Abel.
Here.
Coop.
Here.
Franks. Gutwein.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you. I'd like to welcome everybody here in Chambers for coming out tonight and taking part in your local government. And for those of you at home, welcome as well. Ask you please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance and stay standing for a moment of silent prayer. Thanks. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please be seated. All right. So first up, we have item number 4, which is going to be public comment. This is the point in the meeting where the public is invited to address the city council on items that do not appear on the agenda. All comments should be directed to the city council. I ask all in attendance to observe the decorum of council, which it looks like this group probably will. And when you come up here, you do have 3 minutes to speak. It'll glow green, and when you have 30 seconds left, yellow, and when your time is up, red, and I will gently try to wrap that up from there. So, first up, Mr. Mace, good evening, come on down.
Give me 30 seconds, Mayor, please.
Certainly, take your time.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council members, James Mace, Ward 2. I have come up with a solution for all of you regarding bullies in the schools and all over the city. You guys have asked for a solution. I have come up with an idea that I think you guys might like. And my idea is you have a regular citizen like myself who is in a wheelchair, walker, anybody that gets bullied, because in the physically challenged or mentally challenged communities, that happens all the time. So what I am proposing is a regular citizen, including a regular citizen, including myself, make a video and bring it to council's attention and see what the police department and see if people will support it, not just through council and through the police department, but the citizens themselves. I do believe that it would be very smart for council to watch this and see what they think, because this won't just be made by a citizen, it'll be made by a ton of citizens. I am pulling together some people in my community, which is the physically challenged community, and we are coming up with ideas on how to do this. I have spoken with the police department, with Commander Hebner, and the police department's not quite aboard yet, but I'm working on that. Any questions, comments? I welcome them. Thank you.
Appreciate you coming out tonight. Mr. Meyerson? Good evening, welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, City Council. I wanted to bring up a problem. I don't have a solution. I've lived in Lakewood for quite a long time, since '93. Owned a house here, had my own rentals, had my own business. It's still here. I don't run it anymore, but the place is still going. And I like Lakewood a lot. I'm considering I might have to leave due to the price of housing now. Recently got a divorce. It's putting me in a situation where I can't afford to do what I would like to do, and that happens to people. You can't always do what you want. I get that. I also am at an age where I want to be able to not have a mortgage and use the money that I now have to buy something. I found out some possible solutions. And there's micro houses that are being manufactured. You've heard of tiny houses. This isn't a tiny house, but it has similarities. It's not on wheels. It's a manufactured home, like a manufactured home. But when I look at the opportunities out there and I look for properties, I thought I'd find a $50,000 property that I could buy and an $80,000 eco-designed manufactured home, be able to put it on there, spend a little bit of more money, and for $150,000 have it done and be able to put my money in my savings instead of a mortgage and move on. Can't do that. There's a lot of problems that come up. One of the problems is in order to get a water tap is about $35,000 or more. That's a problem. There's some possible solutions to this. Lakewood's done such a great job over the years, and I love this town. From Villa Italia being developed, through the beautiful stuff we've done to preserve our parks, Green Mountain, Bear Creek Lake Park, and all those areas. And I see we're doing stuff in West Colfax, North Wadsworth, North Kipling, what we did in the Fed Center. We really seem to be progressive. And I just didn't know whether we're looking at options for housing, for affordable housing. Now, I don't mean low-income housing. I mean for people that have some money, but I don't want to spend it all on a mortgage. I want to spend my money in town. I want to spend it on everybody else's business. And if I had some properties that were a little bit larger, that are going to the highest bidder in selling instead, that could be split into 2 units with 2 water taps with a subsidy to help with the water tap split and to support local development so that they choose to have housing that supports this in more of an urban efficient dwellings and urban efficiency centers, that may be a good idea. I don't know what they're going to do in Green Gables when they're developing that. But I'm not sure that there's any incentives for putting in smaller lots. I look at places that are 0.2 acres and stuff like that. They're costing $80,000, $90,000 in a decent neighborhood. And I don't need all that. I'd be happy to take one and split it with somebody if they could split the water taps so that you can make that work. So there's a number of possible things that we can do. There's some restrictive building codes that prevent pre-manufactured homes. And I'd like those to be addressed or considered as well instead of normal zoning, because the house I'm looking for is with Colorado Building Code of manufactured homes, but not the local zoning. So with all this said, and I could go through all these other bullet points if I had time, but I don't, my telephone number is on the listing over there, and I'm happy to do preliminary stuff to help with that and be part of the solution. I don't have an answer. I don't know if you guys had any further questions or ideas about it for me, because I've taken quite a bit of look at this through myself and what's going on with the small housing community for people looking at tiny houses.
Alrighty, thank you, sir. We will circle back after public comment, and people can make some comments.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Ms. Partington? Good evening. Welcome.
Hi, thanks. I'm a little nervous. I've never done.
Oh, you're fine. Don't worry.
My name's Karen Partington. I live over on 933 Newcomb Street, over by the Iber neighborhood area in Raby Johnson's. Anyway, over by the Iber officially the Iber neighborhood, but we're over by Sunset Park. And a couple of weeks ago, we got the flyer in the mail about them zoning for 81 townhomes to be put in this little area, and it's right across the street from Terumo. I guess that's how you pronounce their name, you know, the medical manufacturing place. And it's a nice little park. There's Sunset Park that was done a few years back, I guess, with Colorado lottery funds. And now they want to take all that area. There was a nursing home. They tore that down. It's along Lakewood Gulch. It's a real pretty little area. The kids go down there. People take walks down there in the park. I don't know if it's feasible for the Lakewood to purchase that area. I know real estate is probably sky high, because of the price, housing prices and stuff like that. But I don't know if it's possible to even apply to the Colorado Lottery to finish purchasing that land. There's huge old trees. Lakewood Gulch goes through it. Sometimes it gets floods if we have the big storms like we had the year before. But even if they go ahead and build these townhomes, 81 of them, that's a lot of townhomes in that one little area. I would request before you guys make a decision on this, that you actually physically go down there and take a look, go walk through the park. There's a walking path that goes all the way through it, all the way past Tarumo over to Sims, all the way along Tarumo Tech area, and then over through the park and everything like that. But to tear down those trees, and there's a lot of wildlife that's been forced down in there now, building all that much, I think would really kind of take away, and it would be such a nice thing to take, add on to that park for the kids there and for the people. A lot of the neighbors, they really like that park down there. And anyway, that's all I have to say.
Thank you very much. You did great. All right, that exhausts the roster. Anybody else wish to speak tonight? Come on down. If you could just give us your name and address for the record, that'd be great.
Steve Aldrich, Aldrich, and I live at 10605 West 9th Place. That same Iber neighborhood. So I'm right off of Sunset Park as well. I endorse the idea of the city buying that land if possible. And then my concern is, has proper flood assessment been done in that area? Because it looks like a very flood-prone area, and 81 townhomes could wash away. Did you want to speak too?
I did.
This is my wife Jasmine, same address.
Welcome.
Hi, my name is Jasmine Aldridge, and I live at 10605 West 9th Place there in the Iber community. And I just want the council to really take a look at how that large building area could impact the existing community. It'll be a lot more people, a lot more noise, a lot more vehicles. We already have that large Tarumo structure there, the company. But I think if we put in 80, I don't know how many units there, I just think it's going to impact the community. Our home butts up against that park, and we bought it specifically for that. And so I think where our house is located, we're going to see the rooftops of that building, and I really was looking forward to having a long life with a backyard that had a lovely park and wildlife. We hear coyotes there every summer, and I think that would destroy that wildlife, including maybe some of the owls that we see in our community. So I'd like serious consideration about that small region with a lot more people and how it's going to impact a very small community. So if you can take that into consideration, that would be great. I appreciate it. Thanks.
Thanks for coming out. Anybody else? Director Menton, come on down. Do you want me to mention that you've been working with Kathy on something over there? But it's Good evening.
Good evening. Natalie Menton, Ward 5 resident, and I'm here tonight speaking as RTD Board Director for the area. So this is an issue that's made some news, and hopefully I have enough copies for everybody, but it's the 16th Street Mall issue, which, if anything, maybe a lot of folks, perhaps, that maybe they do or don't use that area a lot or not at all. But it's a lot of taxpayer money that's going into that roughly 1 mile stretch of road. So we're having conversations about this road. Just for a bit of discussion, This used to be actually a regular street, then it became a dedicated road for RTD and pedestrians. So in 1987, RTD took over the maintenance of this road, which was some years after it had been built with the patterned flagstone and the granite that's on the mall. As many of you may have heard, it's supposed to resemble a rattlesnake if you're very far above. So it's nothing you really recognize when you're standing there. So this is going on about 20 years, 29 years, almost 3 decades, where we are paying as taxpayers roughly $1.3 million a year to maintain that road. Since my day one, actually it's like second month on RTD, I voted against extending anything having to do with maintenance on that road based on the current criteria, maintaining the flagstone, the granite pavers when we have transit buses riding on it. And it is not suitable. If you can imagine pavers in your backyard and you got a bus running over them, it is not a good maintenance situation. So now that we are finally getting to the end of where our obligations will end, we are finally, I know myself, very interested in making sure that we don't continue on the path we are. So what we are proposing is, instead of using the granite pavers, down there we use colored concrete so we can satisfy those who want the historical value in this project. But there is some resistance to that. And so I would like to see this. It's taken a long time to get to this point where we're having the public conversation again, and outside the obligations. So what I've given you each there is a colored copy. This is what we presented at a couple public hearings. And actually the feedback, I think, time is going to be pretty short. We've got a window to work with to make these changes. Because that road is really a safety hazard for pedestrians too, with the freezing, the heaving. It's not good for those who may be in a walker or some other instances. So if you'd like to give me feedback on those sheets, I would love to have it. If you want to take it back to your constituents within your own area, great. Please share it. I'm happy to send you an electronic file of that. And so the other conversation, just as a heads up, taking place is if the people who want to keep that material on the 16th Street Mall, if that stays there, we may have to move our buses. And then we'll be completely revamping how that circuit goes. So again, it's a good discussion for the public. And again, considerable amount of money at over $1 million a year. And we're going on 3 decades, and this needs to end really quickly while the tone is looking at the fiscal note with this. So I think you all know how to contact me, but if not,
Director, is this information on the RTD website as well?
Yeah, but it's not on the front page. So what you can do, somebody could go to the very bottom and they can click Board of Directors. My contact information will be there. They can ask for all the documents on this, the public feedback so far. I would like to also, add one more item, just as a reference. Again, this is 1 mile, I probably read by now. 1 mile of road. If this was colored to concrete, we're estimating instead of over $1 million a year, the maintenance for roughly 1 mile of road is about $1,000 to $5,000 for a mile. 1.3 million versus 5,000 perhaps. Maybe the numbers would jump up a little bit, but you got a long ways to jump up before you're going to get to 1.3. Thanks.
Thank you very much. All right, anybody else? With that, I will close public comment. Mr. Mace, thank you for that suggestion. I think it'd be great to keep working on that, and we'd love to see something that you come up with. Mr. Meyerson, you bring up a great question about affordability in the whole metro area. And in fact, I just saw a statistic that for a minimum wage job, you'd have to work 102 hours to have a 2-bedroom rental place in the metro area. I mean, it's hitting everybody, every level of worker. So we are currently doing a housing study. We're hopeful to start to see those results. In that's going to give us a better idea of what we have, what we don't have. And in October, we're starting to relook at our zoning ordinance as well, and that would be the opportunity to have these type of discussions about tiny homes. And I know there's been some interest amongst council members to take a look at that as well. So I would just say stay tuned, and we're looking at all kinds of different options to make sure that we have attainable workforce housing in our city. Yep. And then I'm going to defer on the Sunset Park to Counselor Abel and Mr. Cox.
We're interested. I can't say much more than that right now, but that suggestion is out there. Also, Mr. Cox, on the issue of townhomes and our input, it seems to me that 3 years ago, the former council vested the say-so on those kind of projects with our planning director in an administrative decision, and council no longer has input on that. Is that correct?
Excuse me, on the type of project?
No, on the townhome project itself. How many townhomes, where it's going, that sort of thing. That when we rezoned the city, the zoning map granted that as a use by right, and we no longer hear such cases on council that all the approval, site plan and that sort of thing go to the planning director for approval, and there is no further public input.
Site plan approval is done administratively, and this case is in process, and frankly, I'd have to confer with the planning director to see where it's at and to confirm the process going forward.
Okay, let me ask it this way. Do we have anything to say about that project as council?
I'll have to look into that, Counselor. I wasn't prepared for this discussion tonight. Didn't prepare for that answer, and I don't have the zoning code committed to memory. I do have it here with me, so I'd be glad to look at it and see if we get back to you before the evening's over.
Thank you.
Well, and might I suggest we can definitely get these folks information and make sure that we have that prior for them. My apologies. I know you weren't prepared to tackle that tonight. I'm so sorry for throwing that your way. All right, next up is the consent agenda. Consent agenda has been made to expedite council action. It contains both resolutions and first reading ordinances. Tonight, all we have is one resolution, and I'll ask the clerk to please read item 5 into the record.
Item 5, Resolution 2016-33, pursuant to Section 17.3.2.3.c of the City of Lakewood zoning ordinance authorizing city staff to correct an error in the legal description of the recently rezoned property known as 1230 Pierce Street, Lakewood, Jefferson County, Colorado.
Thank you. I'll now open the public hearing on this item. Nobody has signed up to speak. Seeing none, I'll close public comment and ask for a motion.
Mayor Paul, I move for adoption of Resolution 2016-33, which was included in the consent agenda and agenda introduced into the record by the city clerk.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, please cast your votes. And that motion passes 9 ayes, 0 nay. All right, moving along to general business. We do have Councilor Shakti, a motion to set a public hearing date of August 22nd for the Sheridan Station West Metropolitan District.
Mayor Paul, I move to set a public hearing date regarding the formation of the Sheridan Station West Metropolitan District for August 22nd, 2016.
All right.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Point of clarification, Mr. Cox, do I need a hearing on this, or since we're setting the hearing?
There's no requirement for that.
Okay. All right. Any discussion amongst council? Please cast your votes. That passes 9 ayes, 0 nays. All right. Moving right along. Item number 7, executive report. Anything, Ms. Neal?
No report.
Okay. It's a fast meeting, not a record. So we're to reports by council members, and I do not have one tonight. So I will go to Mayor Pro Tem Johnson.
Thank you, Mayor. I too would like to weigh in and thank you for coming. What you're bringing forward is important, and it's something that we need to look at as regarding the long-term consequences of the way we're doing things. Thank you for coming. No report.
Council President Shakti.
No report.
Our world traveler, Councilor Wickman.
We will have our Ward 4 Town Hall meeting this Saturday, 9:30 to 11 at the Green Mountain Presbyterian Church. Everybody's invited. Please come.
Councilor Vincent.
We'll have our Ward 2 meeting at 7:30 a.m. at 40 West Arts at 1580 Teller. Got it.
Councilor Roybal.
We're going to have our community picnic on the 20th of this month at Addenbrook Park, and it's going to start at 11:30 till about 2. That's all I have.
You guys are doing a lot of partying in 3.
Oh, boy.
It's like 3 of them now.
They say it goes in 3s.
Councilor Abel.
No report.
Councilor Koo. Councilor Gutwein.
I have a couple.
Okay.
So we have a really exciting thing happening in Ward 5 this Wednesday. We're doing our groundbreaking of Carmody Park, which is our first universal playground in Lakewood. So that is at 10:30 on Wednesday. And I'm told there's some kind of frozen treat there. So I'm not sure what it is, but the kids are excited about it. And then the following Saturday on August 20th is a whole day of exciting things in Lakewood and in Ward 5. We have our ward meeting at 9 a.m., Bear Valley Church. We're talking about transportation. And then we have Great Frontier Brewery, which is the first brewery in Ward 5, has its 1-year anniversary party. So I encourage you to check that out. And then the last thing I wanted to mention is that Shakti and I both went to the Dr. Cog conference this past weekend, and affordable housing was one of the main issues that we were talking about, and how that is affecting our entire region, and also looking at the changing needs of our seniors and the millennials. But that was
All right.
Thank you.
For those who may not be familiar, they didn't go to the doctor's office. Dr. Cog is the Denver Regional Council of Governments. So sometimes we do government speak up here, and it's nice to throw it out. Mr. Cox?
It's a little unorthodox after council reports, but to close the loop on the discussion that we had, since this is such a brief meeting, Mr. Wilson, who's here, the principal planner for the city, and via the magic of email, Planning Director Travis Parker have confirmed that this is an administrative site plan review, a use by right, as long as the standards defined in the code are met for that project. So it is not a project that would come to the council if the standards have been satisfied. So Councilor Abel is correct on that.
Thank you. Anything else for the good of the order? I'd like to thank our agents for coming tonight and keeping us safe.